Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy weekend. It's Saturday morning. Let's get started with our weekly video. Let's start with that NQ, right? So you're looking at a chart of E-mini Nasdaq futures weekly view. Uh, so looks like we got a rejection right from this 11730 level, right? Couldn't really get above that. That's has a couple of touch points there. Better view would be on a daily view here, right? You could see that the price got a rejection from this downtrend line, right? Which has this first, second, and a couple of touch points right here. So the price couldn't really get above this trend line, right? And we saw this breakdown from this channel as well, and found some support at previous October lows, right? Still have maybe a couple of hundred points, like around 10,480 or something like that, that it can still go towards before it's really a double bottom. But from chart perspective, right, everything just rolled over after the Fed announcement that they're not done increasing the interest rates, things like that. So as long as from price perspective, again, 11,000 is sort of a psychological number below which the price remains under pressure, right? And if you look at it in the hourly view, definitely you can see a little bit better view. This whole area was support, right? Around 10,900 to 11,000 was support every time the price came here. We saw nice bounces, right? But this time the bounce was minor and it just kind of broke down and retested that, couldn't get above that. And let's see if it wants to go back down towards 10,392, or if it wants to go retest this broken channel around 11,200. That could be a good area to retry the short from that area. Okay. All right, let's look at QQQ. Always like to start with the weekly view, still in the down channel here, right? And sort of I'd say maybe a bear flag kind of a pattern, with this trend line being the low, the lower channel of the bear flag, right? We can have something like this that we can look into and see how it's playing out. But this, this 284.5 was the resistance. It couldn't get above that in the past few weeks or even more than a month or so, right? You have these two touch points right there, so that that once it gets above that, we can definitely target higher, this downtrend line. But as long as this price is below this one, the chart remains under pressure. Okay, let's take a look at the daily view as well. So still weakness, still definitely dominated by bearish price action, trend bars, right? The last time we traded in this zone, we saw a good bounce up from there. This time around, a not so good bounce. Yes, we kind of paused here, but just don't see any strength right now, as long as it's kind of in the lower time frame remains below 274, 273, right? That's where this whole structure was. And once that structure support got broken, we saw a little bit of downside move. So if it breaks down further, 251.5, or you can say 250, a psychological number, can be the downside target. Okay. Let's look at SPX, weekly view. Again, I think if you take a little bit long-term view, right, you can see this was the resistance zone, right, on the way up. Once it broke out of that, we saw a nice rally to the upside. So now we're kind of bounced from, like, it retested maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago right here, and then we saw a nice bounce towards 3,900. So it's still not bad, right? Better than QQQ, because QQQ is tech heavy. So as long as I think it can manage above 3640, 3638 number, that can be a pullback and see if it wants to go back up from there. But on the upside, it really needs to break 3906, 3910. That's where the resistance zone is now. If it can break that, we can see higher prices towards 4076, that is, right? But right now, let's see if daily view, right? Daily does, I mean, it's just holding. It's not a bad looking chart, just like QQQ, but then that can definitely add pressure to it, right? I mean, if you can see, this was the resistance. Once we moved up, right, we moved back down, saw a little bit move down below if you extend this line right here. So we managed to close a little bit above 37.50, so a little encouraging from that perspective, but no, it's not a bullish trend bar or anything like that you kind of start feeling comfortable on the long side, right? If it really needs to get back above 3800 to give you that sort of a feeling, because that's where the resistance was, which was support for this structure. So really need to get back above this 3810, 3800 to try to target higher prices. On the lower end, if it breaks down 3700 now, 3638 looks like a doable target on the downside, right? Okay, let's look at Apple. Weekly view, earnings came out, got kind of hammered a little bit after that, right? From this sub 160 zone, broke this mini uptrend line, but it's managed to close above 133.8, right? That was the support zone from back here as well. If it goes below that, 129, and if 129 gets taken out, then watch out below. 123 to 120 can be the target on the downside. If we look at the weekly view, again, bearish, gap down and then just no strength on the upside. Yes, a little bit bounce towards the Friday close, could be short covering, right? Because the price was just coming down all since the past, 4 or 5 days. And now definitely as you get closer to the end of the week, people want to close their short positions, and that can definitely give you a little bit of this bottom wick, right? So it's not a sign that it's a bottom or anything like that. So in the lower time frame, like a 30-minute view, if I bring in the levels, just kind of see how it looks like. So yeah, I mean, it really needs to get above 142.8 for me to start maybe playing a little bit on the bullish side towards 148, right? Because as long as below 142.8, or let's just say 143, it can definitely move to the downside. Okay, Amazon. Let's check out the weekly chart, broken down this whole 105 support. 81 to 72 is a good long-term support where we can see some nice bounce from. So definitely keep an eye on that area to feel bullish. Really, it needs to get above 105 for a longer term. Not longer term, let's say, just medium-term view. It really needs to get back above 105, get back above this downtrend line to start seeing some move towards this higher frame downtrend line of 124. In a daily view right here, you can see it's broken down. Let me bring in the levels. Actually, this gives a better view, and let's take a look at 4 hourly maybe. Yeah, so 4 hourly, you can clearly see 93.5 is your number, or 94, right? That's the zone. As long as it's below that zone right here, it's weak, right? Above that, sure, we can try to get 97.7. That's like the swing high above 93.5, right? So we'll see if it wants to go up. Let's see if it's short there. That's a good risk and reward. If it breaks out, retest, buy there again, and then we can target 97.7, right? So just kind of plan out like that, different scenarios and things like that, so you don't have to rush into a trade. Tesla weekly view, still very weak, right? It held okay, but you can see any past 4 weeks, any bullish week we see, we don't get a upside follow through, right? We saw these 2 back-to-back bullish weeks, but failed to give an upside follow through. So it is expanding on the range. Usually, I don't know if I think it's called maybe megaphone or something like that pattern. I don't really remember, but then definitely it can go down as long as below 230, right? In a daily view, if I look it up, maybe I gave a little bit of better view, but yeah, there you go. It's just a bearish engulfing bar on Friday, right? The lower end of its recent range, with overall market bearishness, and there's no significant support. If it breaks this 200 level, there's no significant support until 182 level, so that can come fast if this breaks down below 200 level, right? On the upside, it really needs to get back above this whole 230, 234 level, right? Which is right around here, because that's where every time it tries to trade above that, you can see it gets rejected, right? It gets rejected there. So once we have a close above this zone, definitely we can try to see, hey, if we can target this 257 zone, right? Unless or until that happens, risk and reward dictates entry on the bearish side. Okay. Okay, NVDA, again, technically speaking, still under pressure, but not bad, right? The way it has held this past couple of weeks against comparison to the rest of the market, looks nice, right? We still have earnings, I believe, maybe a week and a half from now. Level to watch on the upside, 145.8, 146. That's where we saw the breakdown from, right? It's trying to get back to that zone. Last few weeks have been technically strong, higher highs, higher lows all the way. So not bad. It's trading above the downtrend line. So that's good too. If I go to the daily view, right? If you remember this 133 to 134, right? That was our sort of reference point to be bullish or bearish below that level, right? So every time it traded, was above that and it would fall down into that zone, it would get bounced back up, right? And even on Thursday, we opened weak, but it managed to close above that. So that was a sign relatively on a relative basis that the price is strong. And on Friday, we saw a gap up open. It tried to get back down, was bought, and then it closed pretty strong from the weekly perspective. And the if it keeps going up, 145.8 looks doable. That's where we have the structure high, and then we have a gap fill all the way to 150. So with earnings coming up, I think that can be in play. Relative strength, you can see more bullish bars here. Bearish bars don't see any downside follow through, so that's a good healthy sign. And it's kind of holding the structure high here above 134, 133. So that looks like it has strength and can kind of keep going back towards the 150 zone. AMD, I would say this is at the top end of its bearish flag, right? In a weekly view, you can see still in a down channel. Even with these past few weeks of bullishness, those bullish weeks are nothing like these weeks, right? They're just kind of overlapping in nature. So that means even with the bullishness, the underlying price is not getting momentum to the upside, right? So as long as that does not happen, it's hard to kind of trade on the bullish side. However, since we never know what's going to happen, I think if it can make above 64, that's where we have this huge gap. So it can try to go for the gap fill. So I would say ideally look for a rejection here in this zone, right? Weakness in this zone. And if it falls down, that's your tell that it wants to go down and can possibly break out, bearish breakout out of this bearish flag. But if it does not do that, gets bought back up, stays above 63, 64, then, look for the gap fill on the upside, right? Earnings have already come. I don't think it really mattered that much. It just kind of stayed within this whole $4 range between 63 and 60 or 58. So not too exciting, but from pattern perspective, look for the breakout on the upside or on the downside below this. But from risk and reward perspective, this is a good short zone. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Microsoft. Not bad, still in a downtrend, I would say, on a weekly perspective. Yeah, it's just paused right now. There is no upside momentum, right? If it breaks this 213, 212 zone, then 200 is a psychological sort of target that the price can gravitate towards. On the upside, really need to get back above 236 to kind of reverse this downtrend, and then see if it can go back up towards 251, and then if it wants to break higher, maybe towards this downtrend line around 267. But with market sort of sentiment to the downside, definitely sell on strength remains the better play right now. Netflix, pullback, good earnings strength, right? But with market pulling back, we also saw a little bit of deeper pullback from this 290 or 300 zone. So good $40 pullback. I think the setup could be this uptrend line, and if it goes down, wants to retest this downtrend line, definitely a bounce zone for us to kind of trade against. Okay, so look for that kind of price action. Google, it already has actually played out this long-term view that we had of a bearish flag in a weekly time frame, right? So I know some of you also played this one along with us. This bearish flag breakout, it did that, it retested that support turned resistance and then fell through. So now it is coming to the point where this 80 to this 72 area can be a support zone. So any move to the downside, I would look to sell some puts and collect premium with my sell strike below 75. Just kind of gives me some room that even if it goes down, I have some room to sit on the stock, because I would anticipate some sort of oversold bounce or something, but just still giving me some room to be wrong, right? So that's how you want to trade this name. But from target perspective of this bear flag, I think we're already there. The target was between 85 and 80, and I think the low was like around 83 this week. So yeah, I think plenty of market action coming in the coming week again. Overall, market remains sell on strength kind of a thing. And as long as the picture for QQQ remains below 284.5, the preference is to short the strength. Okay. Hope you guys like this little week's video. If you have any questions, please reach out, and would be happy to talk. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day.